Welcome to the medieval times, where your status is shown in everything you do. In medieval times, clothing was a great way to tell which class someone belonged to. If you wear bright, soft fabrics like silks, velvets, cotton, and fine furs, you are definitely upper class. If you are poor, your clothes are most likely made of wool and linen. You may never wear purple or gold unless you are royalty. Most clothes were dull because they are made from vegetable dyes. If you were a woman, you would wear a long dress with a sleeveless tunic. You also would wear a wimple, which covers your head. Wealthy women wore kirtles, which were long tunics over their shirts. If you were a man, you would wear stockings, tunics, and a cloak, which was held in place with clasps and brooches if you were wealthy. As time went on, clothing would continue to get tighter. The two types of music to listen to during medieval times were secular and religious. Secular songs were mostly folk songs and ballads about love or valor in battle. The main instruments played are the lute, which was a round string instrument played with fingers, the zither, which was a wooden soundbox with strings stretched over it, a hurdy-gurdy, which was a stringed instrument with keyboard-like features, recorder, and many more. Percussion instruments were also used. Organs were used in churches. If you liked to dance, that's great, but people rarely touched each other during the dances. The food and drink during the medieval times varied greatly by social classes. Wealthy ate from gold silverware, while the poor used wooden or horn dishes. Utensils always included a knife, but spoons were rarely used. Some of the foods for the upper class included onions, garlic, and leek for veggies, meat such as deer, boar, and rabbit, wheat bread called manchet, and spices such as cumin, pepper, ginger, and etc. Food for the lower class composed of rye or barley bread, pottage, which was a type of stew, dairy products such as milk and cheese, meat such as beef, pork, or lamb, and no spices because they were way too expensive. Drinking was a necessity during the medieval times because the water was very dirty. There were two types of beer. Godel, which was good beer, contained spices. Small beer was simply sweetened with honey. Cider was a common drink for the poor. It was made from water and apples. Wines were very important to the upper class. Most of the wines were imported because it was too cold to grow the grapes fully. Juices from cherries or pomegranates were also called wines. Mead was an alcoholic honey drink that every class drank. Living situations during the time period could be explained in one word: compact. The houses were very tiny and close together. The second stories of houses would hang out into the streets, forming things called tunnels. Fires were a common problem because the houses were often made of wood and thatched roofs. Peasants lived in the country, while the rich lived directly in town. Guild halls were buildings used to house knights. Castles housed the king and his family, nobles and their family, and staff. Early castles were made of wood, but later ones were made out of stone and cement. During medieval times, games were a great form of entertainment. The most common recreational games include knucklebones, which was a form of dice, shovelboard, and cards. Strategy games, especially chess, were very common. Children enjoyed playing with whistles, little dishes, and dolls. Spectator games were also very popular, especially the ones where knights fought each other for prizes. A popular sport was jousting, where two knights charged at each other with lances, trying to knock the other off his horse. After one fell off his horse, the other got off his horse and began a sword fight with the other one. Some other popular games included archery, kolf, which was like golf, hammer throwing, horseshoes, and many more. Thank you for listening to our presentation on medieval times.